Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Sharon Vornholt, and I'm so happy you're tuning in today. I'm happy to have this guest on today. He is Dean Rogers. Dean is a former NFL player that began his career with the San Diego Chargers, and he began investing in 2013. Dean has flipped and wholesaled hundreds of houses, and he's built a large portfolio of rental properties. He's also passionate about helping others learn how to build wealth and freedom. And he has such an interesting story. I told him, we were talking before, I said, I'm not even going to tackle that one. I'm going to have Dean tell you how he got into real estate, how he transitioned from an NFL player to a real estate investing superstar. So welcome to the show, Dean.
Thank you so much for having me, Sharon.
So let's just dive right in and tell people your story, because I think a lot of people are under the assumption you were a football player. You came out with millions stacks of money over there in the corner in the closet. And that's how you got started, right? That's a common misconception.
Yeah, that I was on Easy Street. Just rolling in the dough. Yeah. So Sharon, my background is I was Mr. Football Guy, right? So grew up playing sports. I was kind of in a small town in Central California. So all there was is go to school, go to church, and play sports, right? And so that's kind of all I really ever knew. And when I was growing up, that's what I would fill out as, a kid. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Professional athlete, And I was kind of almost like shy to write it down because I was like, is this real? Like I'm in a small town, like that's pretty big time.
Yeah.
And didn't really grow up going to games and being around us. So it kind of felt unreachable, but still, it's what I loved. And whether it was football season or basketball season, I'd either put, NFL or NBA, whatever sport I was playing and liking at the time. So, that's all I knew and loved. And so naturally you get into high school. Now there's more of a spotlight, right? I'm in the newspaper and, breaking records and, teams in college are starting to come and recruit me. And now it's starting to feel like, okay, well, I got something here. And so, then which by the way, I got kind of an underdog story that I put a chip on my shoulder about because, was under recruited in college, and being on the West Coast, I always, wanted to go play for a Pac-10 school like UCLA or USC or, Oregon, something like that. And, none of them really looked at me, And so I had some others, obviously, that were interested and ended up going to UC Davis. So played football there, smaller football school, and similar thing. Got there, started to, play good and get the accolades and get the recognition and NFL scouts showing up to practice in the games. And from there, I was now talking to NFL teams, right? I'm done with my season. I'm training for the NFL. Like I'm going to go for it. And, still being at a small football school, kind of had the sense like, but are they really that interested in me? It's like hard to tell because it's not like being at a USC where there's an NFL scout at darn near every practice, Yeah. So for me, I just, stayed true to my mission and stayed focused and stayed disciplined and kept training and working hard. And that year was a little bit interesting. It was 2011, a little bit interesting because it was actually the year that the NFL had a lockout. So it wasn't the normal process of, rookie training camp and being able to have all the same interactions and attention that you would normally get working with the teams. So again, just stayed focused, was training with some other NFL guys now at the time in Central California. And then the lockout lifted and I got the call from the Chargers and they said, you got your bags packed? Said, yes, sir. Well, good. Cause you're coming out tomorrow morning. And this was like, 5 p.m. And they're like, you're flying out at 6 a.m. So, my journey started from there, showed up, got checked out by the trainer and met some players and went and signed my 7-figure contract on the dotted line, 3-year contract. And there I was on the team and like, from there, obviously, like there's a lot to the story of like what it was like to be there. If you've ever seen the show Ballers on HBO or seen Hard Knocks, I keep saying that it's like the combination of the two. Ballers has all the glitz and glamour, Hollywood stuff, red carpet, buying the multi-million-dollar houses, women throwing themselves at players, like all the crazy kind of stories you'd hear happen in real life. And then the hard knocks part where it's like, it's alpha male. Everybody's alpha male. Everyone wants to be king of the jungle, the lion on top of the hill. And it's like, it's all business. And it's like that every single day, all day, hyper competitive and cutthroat. Like it's one of the most hardcore businesses to be in. Right. And so that combination was pretty wild, pretty awesome, great experience. And here I am now, like my new peers are the guys who I used to play with on video games, like the week before, and now I got 3 lockers away from Phillip Rivers, 4 lockers from Antonio Gates. And now we're talking like we're buddies. So it was a really surreal experience. And for me, what was the part of my story is I was playing great, feeling great. Norv Turner telling me I'm going to have a long career, but they switched my position. So I played running back in high school, played tight end in college, and then the Chargers moved me from tight end to fullback. And if you know much about football, you know much about fullback, you're pretty much a crash test dummy, right? You're running 10 to 15 yards to try to kill the other person on the other side of whatever direction the ball you're running is. Usually it's straight on or slightly to the angle, but you're just a crash test dummy trying to kill that other person. And usually you're running through giant linemen and they've left a small, tiny hole that the linebacker is trying to stuff that hole to totally stop that run play. And you're trying to open up that hole. So by running through these giant linemen, usually the gap is so narrow, you got to just like run like, a torpedo through the middle there. And you're usually leading with your head. Right. And what that means is you're having a, head on crash collision. And for the first time ever playing football, I'd actually have to go back from practice and ice my head. Right. Almost like in secrecy. Like I didn't want people to know, like, holy smokes, like everything on my body feels good. I'm playing great. My body feels great, but my head doesn't feel right. Like this is not good for my health. This isn't good for my life. Right. I'm a 23-year-old and I got a lot of life to live. And I want to live an abundant, fulfilling life. I don't know if I'm going to be able to function at 40. Right. And so that was kind of terrifying to me. And Junior Seau killed himself that year. Right. Basically said, blew a hole in his chest and said, test my brain. He played for 15 years and his brain had all the CTE, everything, wrecked from hitting his head every day. And those were the kind of guys I was going against, linebackers just like him.
Terrifying. That is terrifying. Yeah.
ESPN's talking about concussions now all of a sudden. And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, like this is everything that I wanted. There's just this one thing called concussions and brain trauma that is one thing that I can't avoid in this position. And I wasn't necessarily, didn't have the authority to go to Norv Turner, the head coach, and say, hey, Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer Antonio Gates, who's playing tight end, tell him to scoot over. That's the position I want to play. I was just lucky to get a chance, right, to play fullback. So for me, I decided to hang up the cleats. I just knew that it wasn't going to be, even I could go down the journey and try to go to another team and, see if I could get in a tight end there. Right. But I just knew in my gut that although it was everything I had hoped and dreamed and wanted, it just wasn't going to work out for me. And so I made, the hardest decision ever in my life to walk away from it, not look back, not think about it, not dwell on it, not sit and be depressed, but just to move on as fast as I could to the next thing. And fortunately, I had a buddy from college I played football with, And he was one of the first people I spoke to. And he said, Dean, I got an amazing opportunity for you. I know you're done playing football. Let me walk you in the door to this tech company in the Bay Area, San Francisco, and basically get you a job. So he did just that and got to work right away. Again, I walked away from a 7-figure contract to now moving to a $65,000 salary in the Bay Area, which is, one of the most expensive markets.
Yeah.
And the point that I like to make, just so I can bring it down to earth with everybody, is I walked away from the 7-figure contract. I didn't walk away with the 7-figure contract. Right?
Well, that was my question. Did you have to serve out your contract, or you broke your contract?
Yeah, didn't serve it out.
Okay.
So didn't leave with it, didn't leave with the money, right? Walked away from it. And so for me, I basically had to start from scratch, right? I walked away from the dream that I'd always dreamt of as a kid and had it in my hands, and it was surreal and almost everything I wanted. But walked away from it and knew it was the right decision, as hard as it was. So Sharon, I got started working in corporate and just was almost laughing how easy it was, because here I was like just giving everything my body had, both mentally and physically, because to play at that level, it might look easy on TV. Oh, you just run straight and go hit that guy, right? It's not very hard, but it's a complex game. And so mentally and physically exhausting every single day to be able to perform at that high level. And granted, I wanted that and loved it, but to sit in a desk and like twirl around in my chair and slap the keyboard around, I thought it was hilariously easy. So I just did what I could do at that point. I didn't have a lot of skills, but I just put a ton of effort into it. First one there, last one to leave, doing extra time, providing value. And at the end of the year, they were like, wow, you did so great, but we're going to give you a salary increase from $65,000 to $67,000.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like the 1 or 2% increase, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So my head almost exploded, because I was sure I was going to get a pay increase to 6 figures at least, right? Like I'm ready to level up. They recognize my talent and my skill. But no, not even close. So I immediately started thinking, like, what else can I do? What else can I do to like take control of my destiny and like provide the lifestyle that I had dreamt of providing by being in the NFL? Like I didn't have that anymore as an opportunity to make multiple 7 figures within a year. So what else was going to be the vehicle for that? So I just remember, like late night Dean Graciosi infomercials as a teenager, and remembering like, man, that looks amazing. Like I want to be a real estate investor. And at the time I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I'll be like a real estate agent or something. I don't know, but let me type how to get started in real estate. And I did that on Google and found Sean Terry's Flip to Freedom podcast. And from the first episode I listened to, I was just like, oh my God, this is the answer to my prayers. This is what I need. This is going to be the vehicle. And I just knew it was what I needed and wanted. And I feel so blessed to have that been the first thing I searched and tried for, and finding Sean Terry's podcast. And so from the first day till my first deal, it was 3 months. And it was just from me taking massive action and following exactly what was in Sean Terry's free podcast. I didn't deviate at that time to start trying to listen to other things or, start overwhelming myself with information. I literally just followed exactly what he was teaching in his podcast and took action on one of the marketing strategies, not several at the same time, just one, and just followed it to a T and got my first deal in 3 months. And
let me ask you this here.
Yeah.
Football is definitely a team sport. Real estate investing is a team sport. So what skills do you think you were able to transfer between the two that helped you to focus in on that?
Yeah. So the first and foremost skill that I like to just like preach and shout from the mountaintops to people is what sports gave me was discipline. Because if you're going to perform at a high level and you're going to advance and get to the next level, it wasn't that I was the biggest. It wasn't that I was the fastest. It wasn't that I was the strongest. There were so many more better athletes along the way that I saw and encountered to where I was like, whoa, like I'm not as good as that guy. Am I going to have a chance? But it was the discipline that I had to be Mr. Consistent, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't having the big breakout, 99-yard touchdown plays and I'm running past everybody and looking back at him because I'm so fast. Like I was just Mr. Consistent who showed up and put in the work and got consistent good results. And that's what gave me the chance to consistently move to that next level. And so it was the discipline to show up and put in the work like every single day. And so many people, they'll put in effort for one day, they'll put in effort for 1 week, for 1 month, for 1 year, whatever it is. And then they'll say, I'm going to take a break, or, this is hard. I'm going to focus on something else. And it's that, illustration we've all seen where the person's digging for gold and right on the other side is the gold mine, but they're walking with their head down because they didn't get there. And that's what it is. And that's what it takes, is just being consistently disciplined to show up, whether you feel like it or not, right? Whether I'm feeling sick today, like for years and forever, like if I've got the flu, if I twisted, if my leg's sore, right? If I'm playing sports, my leg's sore or my back's hurt, or like, you're not sitting out because the next guy's going to take your spot and then your chance might be up. So the same thing's true with real estate now. Is there's competition out there and they want your opportunities, and you need to keep your momentum going, because as your momentum builds, it gains more momentum and starts to kind of snowball from there. And then the next thing, Sharon, I would say from a team sport standpoint is part of going back to that underdog story. When I first got out of the NFL, I already had a chip on my shoulder getting there, but now I had a new chip on my shoulder. Like I didn't fulfill the dream that I had, right? And now how was I going to provide that dream life for myself, my family, my future kids, and everyone else around me? And I knew that I had to put a chip on my shoulder to, like, it was me against me. I had to go out there and get after it. And so for years after getting started in my real estate career, I kind of had blinders on, and was just kind of heads down and focus on my own business. And I wish I would have focused more sooner on the team sport aspect of networking and collaborating with more people sooner. And right. I think a lot of the marketplace at the time in real estate was more of a dog eat dog kind of world, and there was less collaboration. But boy, if I would have done it sooner, like the new community that I've helped cultivate in my real estate market now through, intentional meetups and co-hosting meetups with other, hosts of meetups, and intentionally advertising, I'm willing and able to help other investors, new and experienced, to do their deals and maximize profit. All of those things from a team standpoint have helped explode our business. And so those are the two things: the discipline, and then just you got to work with others to be able to go, because not just one player is gonna allow you to win the game. You got to work with the whole team,
Exactly. So you said it took you 3 months to get just 3 months to get your first deal. Was that a single family house?
It was a single family house. To be specific about what it was, Sean Terry at the time was talking about this strategy where you could go on to hudhomestore.com, which is an online auction of FHA homes. So they're not, auctioned on the courthouse steps like most other properties. They're auctioned off on this website. And the first 30 days, homeowners and nonprofits are able to make offers. The next after 30 days, investors can make offers. And so Sean was explaining his exact strategy, and I was following it to a T, even so much so that I was doing it in his market, not my own. And so that first deal I got, I then started to look for buyers who would buy it. And then funny enough, I got kind of clever and smart and went to Sean Terry's website, which he had mentioned several times on his podcast, submitted it like I was a seller. And then his acquisitions guy calls me. I give him all the info, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Sean will help you get this sold." So Sean got it sold. We co-wholesaled that first deal and several after that as well. And that's how I got started in the game.
Yeah. So did you fix and flip properties, or were you wholesaler mainly in the beginning?
Yeah, wholesaling the whole first year, and then I got started into flipping right after that. Once I found my now business partner.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Did you come at the fix and flip business from like a business model? And what I mean by that is I know people that use the same vanity and ever have, they do this as a business. They're
Yep.
not in it for the HGTV look. So they might have a couple of vanities depending on the size. They use the same toilet, the same paint colors. Did you have a business model like that, or were you more fluid in that?
Yeah, great question. So at the time, after my first year, I joined Fortune Builders, and they have an amazing model for like how to run a fix and flip business and understand how that looks from start to finish. So I pretty much had the blueprint to do that. And that's what I used to first get started. Now, part of my story, which is I got to share again, I like to bring it down to earth. I want to like let people know you can do this too. So when I was done with that first year, I was making some money, right? Proving to myself these deals were real and I could repeat it. I invested into Fortune Builders, and my partner right at the same time reached out, was like, "Hey, do you want to do some flips?" I said, he's like, because I was wholesaling him in deals. He said, "Hey, you're really good at finding deals. You want to do some flips?" I said, "Yeah, sounds like exactly what I want to do. I just joined Fortune Builders. I know how to do this now." Right. And he said, "Well, hey, it's slowing down in our market here in Central California. You're finding deals in Phoenix. What about that? What do you want to do flips there?" I said, "Sure, let's do it." So we jumped right in, bought 6 houses in the first month, and 4 of them went great. The first 2 that we bought, we to get to the punchline, we ended up losing $100,000 on those 2 deals. All the rookie mistakes that I thought I now had all the knowledge, right? And my partner was very experienced, but he kind of like let me run with it. His joke was everything he touched with was gold until he started doing flips with me. So we rushed into it, right? He was optimistic. Everything he touched was gold. He'll let me run with the flips. Now, the comps that we got for the ARV wasn't legitimate, right? The houses across the street were not apples to apples neighborhood that the realtors were using, but we just went with what the realtor said, right? We didn't know ourselves. We didn't like do our proper due diligence. The contractor that we met with in person, he seemed all right. We didn't check references. We didn't realize that he was a total crook who did the worst of the worst type of work. Like, just imagine walking into a house and seeing wires out all over the place, like that kind of bad quality of work. So we had to redo all the work, right? Spend double on the repair costs for these 2 houses. So it was just a nightmare of an experience. And for me, walking away, not with the 7-figure contract, walking away from it, starting with very little and being in an expensive real estate market where all my cost of living is very expensive. I'm making now a little bit of money, starting to get some traction, and now have a huge setback. That was really painful for building momentum. It took all my momentum away. And I had to look myself in the mirror and say, like, is this for me? Is there something wrong with me? Am I cut out for this? Right. But
Mhm.
again, the same kind of thing with when I walked away from the NFL. I didn't dwell on it. I didn't sit in depression. I just said, well, there's only one way out of that, and that's to fight. So
Mhm.
worked my butt off, started doing more deals, right, to kind of like recuperate that money and that loss. And that's what I did for like the next year, right? And then from there, slowly started to do more deals, and we started flipping, from 30 houses to 50 houses to 70 houses, all the way up to 100 houses. And then we got to the point where we were getting kind of like the law of diminishing returns. The more flips we did, we were doing
Mhm.
20 at a time. We're going over time, over budget, and our profits were kind of dwindling. So we realized we needed to kind of pivot because our cash flow was a nightmare. It was like all your money comes in from a flip you just sold, and then your money goes right back out and
Right.
some more because we were doing that many flips. So it was cash intensive. And so for me, it was also an unideal time because I made another mistake in my career where I was doing something new again, and I was optimistic and I was excited. And I rushed into another decision to do another deal because I was more excited about the deal than doing the right due diligence. And on this deal, right, I was in the Bay Area. Now I've moved back to San Diego, and I'm doing my deals in Central California. And there's a community here, right? I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to start doing some flips here in San Diego. And there was someone in the community, and they were doing deals with other people, seemed like somebody that I could trust, right? And they presented an opportunity to do a new construction build right next to one that they were going to do. And oh, by the way, everything was ready to go, Sharon, everything. The plans were approved and permitted. The lending, the financing, hard money lender was in place. We could break ground tomorrow as soon as I buy into the deal.
Mhm. And why did they need you? Let's stop right here.
Why do they need me?
Why did they need you then?
Well, they needed me because no one else was a sucker enough to go for it. But for me,
Well, I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think you would. So for me, the one of the biggest points from my big lessons I've learned in my career is it's better not to do a deal than a bad deal.
Mhm.
And you've got to do your due diligence, especially when you're doing something new. Now, the example I like to give is we've done hundreds of deals of hundreds of flips, hundreds of wholesales, and we've got our rental portfolio. Those things I could do with my eyes closed.
Mhm.
We just closed a property 2 weeks ago that we're going to make $95,000 on in the matter of a week and a half because we've got it resold already without lifting a finger on it. We bought and closed on that property in 24 hours. And I'm not
Wow.
exaggerating. We opened escrow on Wednesday. We closed escrow on Thursday. Now, that doesn't happen without being super experienced. And by the way, I even used a private lender to fund the entire deal and some. So I had $0 in it, bought it, closed on it 24 hours. Now, that comes from experience. Now, this other deal, new construction, I knew nothing about it. So I was relying on the other person, just like when I did my first flips, and just took what they said for granted. Like, yes, they're a good person. Why would anyone do wrong to me? Like, I'm a good person. I attract other good people. I just, why would there be anything that could happen wrong here? Well, they were a complete wolf in sheep's clothing. They just had everything completely like a Ponzi scheme. They had borrowed millions of dollars from other investors in the community, putting it illegally to work on different projects and not securing it against the property and buying whatever he wanted. And on our project, he had no plans approved. He had given fake receipts to the hard money lender to withdraw money. I mean, it was a gut-wrenching nightmare that took a year of my life trying to fix and renegotiate and get plans approved and spend more money, to where I ended up losing $187,000 at the end of the day. And I did not move one piece of dirt. All I got was some papers I could sell to somebody else. And it was just so painful. But I guess I just had to go through that lesson to learn, like, whenever you're doing something new, you've got to do your due diligence, not rush into it. But there I was, Sharon, faced with another moment of like, all right, just got the wind kicked out of me. The wind's out of my sails. My momentum's now set back. I had a lot of cash out on now rental properties that we had started buying. And like, it was not a good time to get that setback, right? I was already strapped for cash. So just went back to work, just pivoted to wholesaling, which was something that we were good at doing, is finding deals. And so we pivoted to wholesaling. That improved our cash flow and how we were doing, and focused on buying more rentals and doing just an occasional flip here and there. And our business from there has now scaled to, again, doing 100 deals in wholesaling a year, and doing a handful of flips, and continuing to grow the rental portfolio. And now we're like in an amazing place, very healthy on the financials. Our team continues to grow, and it's like, it feels like we're in a good place, and just kind of the sky's the limit, you know?
Well, I want to touch just briefly on mindset, because I know you just didn't allow yourself to live there in that place. But if you really think about it, it's not really that simple, Dean. I know you did it, but it's easy to get stuck in this place where you just can't crawl out of the hole.
Absolutely. So I put myself, because one of the biggest messages I want to relay to people with those painful moments that I had in my life is we all want to, be a victim, right? That person did it to me. It's their fault. Like, it had nothing to do with me, which there's some truth to that. But at the end of the day, like, I made the decision to do those deals, and I got to own up to it. And then I got to own up to the fact that I'm the only one that's going to fix it. No one else is going to come in and sprinkle fairy dust on it and fix it, or parachute in to save me. Like, no one's out there to save me. And you realize this once you get out of, school and you get into the real world. Like, now some people, mommy and daddy are still there to save them and pull them out of harm's way and fix their problems. But for most people, like, you're on your own. You got to figure it out. So I had to figure that out for myself, that I have to fix these problems. And it started with my mindset. And that is really hard when you're in a bad place. When you're set back and your back's up against the wall, it's hard to be positive. It's
very hard.
It's so hard. And it's hard to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, because you're just in the thick of crap. And so that's something that you have to continually work on and make sure that you're focused on being positive. And one of the best ways to help yourself with that is to surround yourself with other people who are positive and successful. That's going to help you to kind of receive their vibration and their energy, because you need that, because you're probably giving off a bad negative energy because you're thinking about all these bad things that are happening to you. So you need to shift. You need to have a transformational shift in the way that you're thinking about yourself and the way you believe in yourself, and being around others is going to help you with that for sure.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your coaching programs. I know that you coach people on all of these things, and I can just see you people being in the room and you're all excited and you get them all believing that they can do it. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So for me, where I'm at in my career now, one of the intentional things that I did just 2 years ago and focus on was to take the blinders off and to build community. And so started a meetup, started sharing on social media about not only what we were doing, but how we could help other investors, both new and experienced. and help them work on their deals. And that developed into what I call the Friends with Benefits program, which is, it's just fun and gets a chuckle out of everybody. But it was the concept of like, hey, I love sending money to friends and sharing that on social media, and people like commenting on it, like, hey, how do I get involved? Like, how's that go? And so I coined the, Friends with Benefits, and made t-shirts out of it, to where if without us doing a deal, we're kind of in the friend zone. Like, we don't really know who we are yet. We haven't really worked together, broken bread. But once we do a deal, now we're friends with benefits. Like, we're both receiving value, right? We're both benefiting from this friendship. And that is fun. That's where things get interesting. That's where there's more opportunities. There's more creativeness. There's more community. And so that kind of whole concept of the meetups and the Friends with Benefits program also led to people kind of pushing me like, hey, can you mentor me? Can you coach me? And I didn't really have something at the time, but I had good friends that were doing it. And they all encouraged me to create content, to do podcasts, and to start a coaching program. So I'm insanely passionate about real estate, love talking about it, love to nerd out and geek out on things like marketing, like you do. And so naturally, I knew I had some value that I could provide. So, spent a month plus working till 2 a.m. in the morning, eyes bloodshot, working through putting together the coaching program, and now have that up and running, and has for a handful of months now, and have a growing community of people that are getting success and like making big changes in their life. Some people are new, and the other half are experienced investors that are looking to create that consistent result of doing deals and building a legitimate business. Because the coaching program, what it is literally taking everything that we're doing in our business and just putting it in on paper, so to speak, so that people can understand, how do I do this? And one of the things that I emphasize through the coaching program is the level of detail, because I'm a detailed person. And a lot of people just talk about theory and fluff, like you should do this, you should do that. But in the coaching program, I actually show you click by click how I send out a marketing campaign, or how I build out my CRM, and how people use it and what they should do, so that you can truly understand without any like questions left how to do it just like we are. And then, of course, I've got accountability all built into that on a weekly basis. And we've got negotiation training on Tuesdays and Q&A calls on Wednesdays that are live in a group setting. And so it's just been super fun.
Sounds like it's super fun. So what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you and find out more about what you offer and your podcast, about everything?
Yeah. So if you guys go to deanrogers.com, you can see right at the top, there's a tab for connect. You'll see all my social media stuff. So Instagram is at Dean Rogers Real Estate, youtube.com/Dean Rogers. You'll see all that there. And then if you're interested in the coaching program, you want to find out more, there's a shop tab at the top you can click. There's a video that explains more about the coaching program, and then an application, couple questions you fill out, and then we'll jump on a call and review your application from there.
And I'll put all these links in the show notes, so you don't have to remember that or rewind. Well, Dean, this was great information. So good. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I know you're a busy guy, and you just provided a ton of value.
Well, I appreciate you having me, as we both are kindred spirits. We love it. We eat it, we breathe it, we sleep it. And this business is so fun because there's just endless opportunities and potential. So please, anybody who's listening, don't hesitate to reach out. I love to connect with other people, no matter where you're at. And so look forward to connecting with some new people.
And he's not exactly the shy introverted type. You may have figured that one out. Thanks, folks. Thanks to all the listeners for coming out. I do appreciate it that you come out week after week. And please share the show and leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. I would appreciate it. I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye for now.